Negotiators are nearing an agreement with Hamas to release the first 50 civilians in exchange for Israel allowing more aid, including fuel, coinciding with a limited pause in fighting. Multiple sources told CBS News. This could potentially be followed by the release of more civilian hostages. According to two sources, there is no definitive agreement in hand at this stage, but instead a draft written agreement being passed between parties who are stuck in what are described as very difficult talks conducted with help of United States and Qatar. According to CBS News, White House Deputy National Security Advisor Jon Finer said in an interview with Face Nation with Margaret Brennan magazine that many areas of pre-existing differences have narrowed in the hostage talks and that United States has become closer. We were about to reach a final agreement. Finer said it would not be helpful to publicly detail the evolving diplomacy and acknowledged the warning that past agreements were imminent before collapsing. Hopes were high last week that a breakthrough in diplomacy would finally be imminent. But two officials in the region said the Israeli army's move on Al-Shifa hospital had complicated diplomacy with Hamas. A source familiar with draft agreement told CBS News that the proposal in its current form would include release of 50 hostages on day one and a limited pause in fighting that would last about 4 days for 6 hours a day. According to this source, if this release and pause happens as planned, there will be a second release of approximately 25 hostages. White House officials declined to comment on the sensitive diplomacy. At a press conference in Doha on Sunday, Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim al-Thani described remaining sticking points in the emerging agreement between Israel and Hamas as very minor logistical issues and said parties were close to reaching an agreement. Qatari Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim al-Thani speaks with the European Union High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Josep Borell at a press conference in Doha on November 19, 2023. AFP via sources familiar with the talks said there were several issues that had recently become complicated, including whether there would be general oversight during broadcasts. Israel also demanded that Hamas disclose some of the captives it holds or could take from other militant groups such as Islamic Jihad, as the number of more than 200 hostages remains only an estimate. Last week, two of unnamed people believed to be hostages, Noah Marciano and Yehudit Weiss, were found dead by the IDF near 45,000 square meter Shifa hospital complex in Gaza. The identities of bodies of those dead by the terrorist organization Hamas and other militants in attack carried out in Israel on October 7 continue to be determined. Obviously, Gaza is an extremely dangerous place to be a civilian and be held hostage at this point. So,